And this is how you repay me.
Oh, spare me this sanctimonious lecture. You never cared about me. In the words of one of my actual friends, you're basic. It's a human insult.
Hey, hi Madalin, welcome to your eCritique for winning the 11-second club. Congratulations, amazing piece of animation. I really love this one for various reasons. Most of all because you've combined 2D and 3D and you've been successful at both of them in that combination. So we're going to dive in and have a look at this. I got some notes for you, although you've set me quite a challenge, so I appreciate that. Going to have fun with this one. So here it goes. Let's dive in and we'll have a look. But before we do that, just want to mention a bit about myself. You're probably wondering who I am. My name's Leigh Rens. I'm an animator for 20 years now, or 20 plus years, whatever it might be. Worked on a bunch of films, got 25 film credits, a bunch of theme park rides, commercials, and some TV episodes as well thrown in amongst that. I'm based in Los Angeles. I've worked on almost every studio lot in town. Spent the last couple of years doing some previs animation as well for various directors, helping them visualize their movies. So a bunch of experience there. I currently just wrapped up on Secret Life of Pets for Universal theme parks. They're putting in a ride, theme ride for that franchise, and that's for Illumination Entertainment. So that sums up who I am. But let's dive in and have a look at this, because this is about you, not about me. And this is awesome stuff. So let's check this out. Cool. So I'm going to hit play and we can have a look at it. I'll just mention it. I'll speak over it and just mention a few things because I obviously went ahead and had a look at this before I popped it open here to critique it. So here goes.
And this is how you repay me.
Oh, spare me this sanctimonious lecture. You never cared about me. In the words of one of my actual friends, you're basic. It's a human insult.
Cool. So, I went and had a look at this cut to see if it timed correctly, if I changed that, and that seems perfect to me. You also come in straight on this great composition. So just wanted to point out some of the things that are working really strongly. You've got this great composition here between the two characters, so that's working really, really well. I'll critique both shots separately, as one's like 3D and the other's 2D, so we'll have a look at that separately. I've got some composition notes, got some acting choice notes, and some shape notes as well. So we'll look at those separately, and hopefully that makes sense to you and helps you out to plus this, to even improve upon it even more if it's possible. So first of all, I had a look at this. So we'll start with the CGI shot. I had a look at this. The eye line over here lines up with the cabinet, and I was kind of thinking if it could just be a little higher, if it could just come up a bit higher, so the character was maybe up here somewhere, the head of the character is maybe just a little taller. That would really help it a little bit. Also help get the character into the top third of frame, which always feels more comfortable. But, that's if you stop on a single frame. This, however, you really tight your on time on the shot. So when the character leans in here, you're using that full range of motion coming over. And you got this lovely arc. You got this really cool arc as it comes in. And then he does a little tilt of his head. So this is really cool where he throws his mouth open here and then comes back, so he kind of and then brings his head back. So that action of him doing that is really cool. That works really well, and that almost motivates the cut. You feel the shoulders lift like he's breathing, so you feel the character like he's breathing, like he's huffing and puffing. He's breathing, and you cut right at that moment, and we have this guy just staring straight back. So there's the hidden communication between the eye lines of the character is perfect as well. So there's a lot here that's functioning really well. So that was my first note in terms of just starting out with this guy, but there's a few other things that I think could that stand out. One is obviously the shape on the arms here, so we'll discuss this a little bit. And this straight line over here as well also seems to lock the character. I like the fact that you got the body at an angle, that kind of plays kind of nicely. I wish maybe just the shoulder was down just a little bit. That would maybe just break that, just make it feel a little bit more organic. But it's a balance of the shape, of the graphic shapes versus the the organicness of the character. So my solution on this, that wouldn't even matter if you like my acting choice for this one would be for him to have his arms folded. You've got a slight drawback on him as he starts his line here. He goes back slightly, which is kind of nice. So that drawback, just that tilt back, I would use that to like take the arms out and bring him forward with his hands on his hips. What this would do is you would see the hands a little. Right now his hands are out of frame as well, so he's kind of cut off at a weird place. So you'd just get a read on those hands, and then they can disappear out of frame and it's fine. It's just one of those things that if you're, just to bring that up there, that composition would work a little stronger, I feel, with the hands folded than come to this. It's a tough one. It really is, because I think, you're really tight on time here. So to have this big action of him opening his hands might be too much as well in the time frame you have. So that's something I would try out. That would be a definite try out for me, just to see if that would play a little bit, if that would play in the time given. I really wish they'd given you 8 frames up front here, so that you at least could get the audience into the shot. Those first 8 frames, the audience just wants to absorb what they're looking at. And once they have that, then you normally play the die. You come in and play the gag. So it's kind of that thing. If you could, as a little bit of an intro, if they just had those 8 frames, it would really help the read on this. But you've managed to squeeze so much in this short in the shot on the beginning here. There's quite a bit of dialogue, and that's the other thing that is just really a big note for me. Is we can't read the mouth shapes clearly on this. So if the inside of the mouth could be a tone or 2 tones darker, so you could read the shapes of the mouths, the sync would read a lot stronger, and that would work really well. I went through the sync, and there's really only like 3 shapes, the lip sync. There's really only 3 shapes for me that, if I just hit play in the beginning. So let's just get rid of this stuff. It's in the way here. I'm just going to get my eraser out, because it's starting to mess up with our other notes that we're discussing. So there we go. Get rid of that. And I think I've got some other stuff here as well. Actually, I'm just going to quit. No, I won't quit. I'll stay with it. Let me just erase this. So just give me a sec. Sorry about that. And we'll get back to the sync notes in a second. There we go. Now we can comment freely on stuff. Okay, so let's hit play.
This is how you repay.
So this is how, the minute you say this, the mouth broadens, right? You get that mouth broad. This is, so you really want to read that first this. It's kind of nice because he's standing there, his mouth's kind of grumpy, and then he goes this. So you get that now. That's really a big accent to kick the shot off with. So that's the start of the dialogue. You really want to hit that shape nice and broad, so it reads really strongly. And then the other 2 shapes I get, how, you, how, and u, ow, u. So it's ow, u. Those are the 3 shapes that you really just want to hit at the start of this to sell that whole line of dialogue. So as long as you see those 3 shapes, I think the rest plays really well, and you end really strongly. You've got some really cool asymmetric mouth shapes in here that play so well with the dialogue. So, and this little lift on the lip here on the left-hand side of frame is fantastic as well. So really nice shapes that are strong and read nice and clearly. So there's no issues there at all. It's just those first, I just hit those 3 phonemes I mentioned there on that. And that's it for this one. That's it for the CGI. I think everything else
This is how you repay me. No, spare.
Has a nice vibe to it. There was one little thing I was thinking of, is maybe at the end here. You're playing the shoulders, and you're playing the whole body lifting and the shoulders lifting. You can maybe just put like one of the eyebrows could just have a little lift to it as well, and that would help. Just add to that feeling on his whole, like, like he's preparing to really go ballistic on the cat. And what's so fantastic is he's so angry, and it's, you know, you generally don't want to do anger shots too much in animation when you're doing funny, but it does play very funny when you cut and it's a cartoon character. It's a 2D cell cartoon character. This blew me away. This is just like, what? And then I was like, this is awesome. So this is great to see. I wish there was some executive watching this and they could say, okay, the next thing we want to do is combine 2D animation with 3D animation. I think it would make a fantastic feature film. The concept to me is great. I've seen it a few times on 11 Second Club now that I think about it, but this to me plays really strongly, and I think that's why I hope you're getting a ton of positive response to this. I think you are, and you deserve it because it's fantastic in that regard. Just that thought alone to me is awesome. Okay, cool. So we're going to dive in. That wraps up the 3D side of things. We're going to dive in here. I do have some acting notes for him for the CG character in the front here, but we'll get to that. And it's just it's just an idea just to give you some a place to launch off, to tweak a few things on the end there. But we'll get to that at the end. I want to focus on this guy now, the 2D cat. You really understand cats, and that shows here. You got this great thing where he turns his body away, but he's still looking at the guy. So he's still looking at him, but he turns his body away from him, like, you are dirt to me, you know, kind of idea. So it's really great. Also, if you listen to Ted Danson's the remainder of this line, I just thought if you could continue animating this and get those other two lines in there where he says, I'm trying to remember what he says here at the end. Let's just play this.
Human insult.
Human insult. And he goes, it's devastating. You must be devastated, you know, or you are devastated, simply by him saying that he expects the human to be devastated. So it's kind of, that would be great if the cat could carry on saying those other, you know, the rest of the payoff to that gag. It would play so well. I understood why they didn't put it in there for the 11 Second Club, but for your piece, if that was added on, it would be a bonus. Okay, cool. So again here, just cover the sync on this guy quick. The words to me on this one is, yeah, basic. I didn't get that, and part of that was because the mouse shapes didn't work for that line. I went and actually had to look it up, that it was actually, yeah, basic, yeah. So it's kind of like a yeah, and again it's that pull of the mouth going open. So it's yeah, and then the B for basic, ba. So it's yeah, and you want to feel that compression, ba, and then the bass ik. You want to feel the K, basic. So you think it's a C, and that would be a mistake because you're thinking it's a soft thing, but it's actually ka. So it's a K, basic. So that would, so it's, you've got this pull out of the mouth going wide, and then it closes to the compression of the B and then opens. So you got this kind of thing happening. That shape is kind of quite cool if you could get it in there. And then the little tongue comes out and he licks his paw, and that would play perfectly in with the rest of what you have there. So it's just really hitting those three shapes. And I think that would play stronger if you could get that in there. Cool. So that covers the lip sync on the cat. That's really the only changes I'd make to the cat. The rest is all composition, and the shape of the puddle could change as well a little bit. But we'll get into that. Let's have a look at that. What I want to do is flip this, and we're going to have a look at the composition. My main problem with it is I just feel that it needs a bit more room. You've covered the rule here. So you've got, let's just point this out to show you what's working. So let's just get this line tool in here. Right. So there we go. Nice neutral pose. You got the three elements. You got the CGI guy in the foreground. You got the puddle, and you got the cat. Those are the three elements of the composition which work really well. Really quick to read. Boom, boom, boom. So the guy now just goes into the back of your mind. You just feel him in the foreground because he's blurred out. You got the puddle, which is the gag. That's the point of discussion between the two characters. That's what they're fighting over. And you got the cat, who's just got this like steel look on his face. He's like, you're not going to get me, you can't intimidate me kind of thing. So that's the fun. That's the fun, is the dynamic between that in the acting. So I just feel composition-wise, the cat could come over just a little bit more. It could come over to about here. So, you know, I just feel that would feel a little bit more comfortable. And then if I flip this, you can see what I'm getting at. You start feeling that this is really tight. I mean, this guy gets a nice, the CGI guy gets a nice third of frame. You know, he gets a nice chunk of frame to be in, and the cat's kind of squished into the corner a little bit. So you just want to pull him over just slightly. I know it's a balance, and I know why you did it, because visually balancing, you want to see the puddle, you want to make the puddle obvious, which you've done. You want to make the cat big enough so he can act and perform what you've done. And you want the CGI guy there so you can read his reaction. So you've kind of, it's a balancing act between them. But I feel you do have a little bit of room just to pull the cat over. One of the things that I like is the fact that you angled this cabinet at the end here so that it feels like the cat's cornered, which is kind of cool as well. So, but just bringing that over just a, you know, half a body width, I think would really, really help. Okay, and the other thing for me is this is like the shape of the puddle. I think if you could invert that, if you could flip that so that you get this nice curve on the puddle in the front here, right? So this would be a big piece here and then a tiny piece over here, right? And then you'd have probably that little piece over here. This to me would serve two purposes. One, you'd have this nice curve or barrier, you know, that defines the two characters. So it's almost like this like shape that pushes. So you'd feel the push away, you know. It's just a shape thing, but it would really help that confrontation between the two characters, help push towards the character that's trying to attack the cat. Almost like it's attacking the guy. The puddle's like, yeah, in your face kind of thing, a little bit more. So it's just really a little bit of a tiny psychological thing that happens there. Also, this other little piece of the puddle at the back here would really indicate that it's the cat that did the deed, you know, and put the puddle on the floor. That would really help. There's another factor for this. So the reason for also doing this is to create a little bit more of a staging area. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of another color here. You just create a little bit more of a comfortable staging area for the cat to perform in. Because later on, when the cat starts walking forward, you'll see he's pretty close to the puddle. And it feels almost like he just missed stepping in it, which would have been, you know, so if this puddle was just over here, you know, you would have a little bit of more space to do his performance. So it's just really a staging idea, and you'd still get to read the puddle. So that's my other notes on this, just to try and improve that a little bit. And then what I want to mention here on the cat, the performance, he looks at the puddle, so he looks at the puddle, and he looks at us, so he looks away. Sorry, I can't do an arrow directly at us, but he looks away at us, and then he looks back at the guy, you know. So there's this performance where he's like, yes, 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 yeah, you know. So you really get the sense that he's totally in control of stuff, and that creates that innuendo and meaning behind what's been said. So that's a really great, strong performance on this. So I can't really fault it. I think it's great. And the cat-like elements to his performance as well, like licking his paw. And you've also got some anticipation in here. So he stands here and he lifts his paw while he's still talking to him. No, it's almost like he knows he's going to lick his paw, you know. So it's like, oh, I'm busy with cat business kind of thing. So that's another reason it plays so well, is because you've got some cat elements to this. You've got some foreshadowing. He's going to lick his paw. It's like, oh, I'm not bothering with you. He's got his body turned away. So there's a lot of great elements to this performance that play so well. So that's the reason I'm not going to touch it. I think it's great. And then my last note for you is just an acting note on this guy here. And what I came up with on this is there's some movements in here that are, it's kind of distracting, and I understand that you want him reacting to the cat, but I think it could be simplified a little bit. So just choose like 3 poses. I like this pose where his hands on his hips here. And this pose to me is great here as well, where he's kind of got his arm back. But what's going to drive this for me, and you've got it in here, I just think it could play, it could be thought through a little bit more and maybe play a little bit cleaner. And that's this concept that first he's shocked by what the cat says, because the cat actually insults him. And then he goes into surprise. That's what I got when I acted it up and I thought about it. Like if this was my shot, that's what I'd be thinking of. It's like, and when you're shocked by something, your body stiffens up. It goes into, it tenses up. It's like, huh. So you'd feel that body go away. And I want to point that out. You have that in here. There it is right there. The shoulder raises like he's shocked after the cat's delivered the line. But then it feels like it just floaty at the end there. And that is the second thought, is this idea that he's actually surprised by the cat. It's like, what? And if you go, what? You feel the shoulders come forward. So you just go, what? So it's just a simple idea of going, and then what? And that's as simple as I'd play it. And I'd try and keep this pose just really clear. I wouldn't move that arm around too much. Just find a pose you really like. Just play that stretch open and stretch closed for those 2 ideas of being shocked and then surprised. And that would, and that would end it for me. So that pretty much wraps it up for me on this one. I think it's a fantastic shot. Really, once again, well done. Great stuff. It was fun to critique this one. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you around campus. You have a great one. Thanks. Cheers.